Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I want to talk to you about this plugin developed by the Polyverse people with Infected Mushroom called Gatekeeper. I've actually been messing around with this plugin for a little bit. You might have seen me use it in some things, but today we're actually going to do a video about it. To that point, this video is sponsored by Polyverse, just pointing that out. So let's talk about it. Like the gate in the name implies, this whole thing is about volume automation. I've set up a little automated thing here just to kind of show you what it does and how it sounds when it's, used to a capacity. All kinds of good stuff. Along with just being straight up, it's a pretty straightforward automation graph. The thing that makes it good to use is all of these awesome keyboard shortcuts that make it just extremely easy to move things around and to do so quickly. Along with how certain things work. I mean, this is the help page, so go there to go look for things. But some fun stuff. Like for right now, for example, its snap is engaged, but when I put on a new node, I can do so in the middle of anywhere, and it'll still snap, and it'll snap according to that kind of range that we saw there. Which will be a kind of a visual thing. See, it'll still snap at that range, and that range is still that exact sort of size screen-wise, even if you zoom in or out. So you have kind of variable dead zone in your snap that changes according to your workflow and zoom space, which honestly should be more things. Speaking of zoom space, the letter O, gets it back out to here, but also back into the zooming and snapping. Hitting the number keys, number 1 will get you regular 4x4 here, and then I forget what 2 does, but 3 gets you triplets. So if you want to just quickly switch between even time and odd time, you can just do that. There's also a button down here for that. There's buttons for most of these things. Along with, pretty amazing interface control, which is honestly very nice. You also get pretty regular, you get your tension control. There's also lots of options in a per point kind of thing. Oh, copy and pasting is also pretty great. C and V are the things, but you can also do things like grab individual stuff and move them all together like this. There's also greater transform controls and even different shape makers for I personally like drawing things as manually as I want, but then there's also very specific shapes and things that you can generate in there along with drawing them yourself, and using the erase tools and all this kind of thing is all about creating and very quickly editing the things you want to have done. And then along with that, we also have you see that there's just lots and lots of these, and you can link them to the keyboard. You can tell which ones are on at any given time. There's also envelope mode where it'll trigger the thing instead of having the thing just keep continuing to go the way it is. Right now, it does kind of a hybrid of that where it'll restart at the beginning of everything, when the thing actually starts, but it'll continue to go regardless of what notes played. In the particular setup I have going here, I'm not triggering it with MIDI, although I could, and then when I have envelope mode on, this gets treated as a triggered per note envelope kind of thing. And then you can also set up looping and all that stuff, and it's got the best of just about every kind of editor I've ever seen, to be perfectly honest. It has, I'm all about doing things fairly quickly, and this thing accomplishes that greatly and nicely. And the last thing that it does that is extremely important to me might be something that you noticed already in my description of it, in that it didn't really sound like that was volume control. I had it kind of like a filter control. And what's up with that? And well, the answer So, as it turns out, I'm controlling a filter externally with modular hardware using the CV outputs of Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper can output CV. It has a unipolar and a bipolar function, and right now I'm using the bipolar mode. And essentially what's happening is that this signal that, this gate that's being created here is actually being output pretty much directly as an audio signal. The value of this is that the hardware I'm using, this is an Expert Sleeper's ES3. Its whole thing is that it is an ADAT piece of hardware, so these 8 inputs are being ADATed back out to my RME interface. And ADAT 2 here is that signal, and you can see there's a positive polarity and the negative polarity in this other light on the other side there, and then that is the signal that is getting accepted as CV into the filter, which is controlling the actual filter motion in the sound that we're hearing. And all of the beautiful things inside Gatekeeper that make it really good as a volume modifier, as a thing that modulates volume. I'm going to turn off that thing now because it's modulating the filter even though no sound is being played, it's creating sound. things like its ability, the smoothing is really the main thing. Let's go look at the audio, actually. I recorded specifically what this signal looks like in Edison, because this is the value of doing something like this. If you might wonder, why the hell would I care about using audio as control? And that's because MIDI, like regular old MIDI control, has 127 steps. High, I forget what the bit rate, 14-bit, 10-bit, 14-bit, I think. It has a lot more than that. 1020, I don't remember the actual number, but it's not as much as just however many steps of level that you can have inside a 44 kilohertz 16-bit. I actually guess in this case a 32-bit. No, it's 24-bit at least, I guess, because that's what the output of my interface is. Yeah, anyway, but like this is what it looks like, and like these are the positions that you have available to you, and like that's the value of having audio as like the thing that generates the curve, because it could be as sharp as you want it to be. And then Gatekeeper allows you to generate, like it didn't tell you how sharp that sharpness is. Let me demonstrate that with actual audio instead of trying to explain it. I'm just also a really big fan of this time manipulation thing over here. Every one of these guys, amp and the panning and whatever, also has individual internal modulation linking that you can do, and modulation is also very powerful and possible for just about every part of this, and it makes it extremely versatile for its original purpose, which is to modulate volume. But given that CV output is basically just a static like offset that gets out, modulating that thing, like the volume of what would that be, that output needs to be something that has to be extremely well controlled for, and that's why Gatekeeper as a plugin exists, to allow for that thing, that such a thing to be the case. Alongside that, you can also do things like have extraordinary control over things like sidechaining for when you're not really using this to do like to be an envelope and a note or anything, but maybe you're doing an envelope the opposite so that I can carve a hole into something. One of the things that kills me about a lot of things that are volume controls, like the faders inside a mixer or a knob on a thing, is that if you automate it to be perfectly sharp, it is not necessarily going to be that way. And precisely how it is not going to be that way is entirely up to whatever system happens to be dealing with that. So I am personally in favor of any system like this present in Gatekeeper that lets you have a lot more control over crap like that and actually have it essentially come out the way you have it look. And that allows for the kind of creativity I like, which is, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And check out the Polyverse guys in the link in the description of this video for more of their cool plugins. They have plenty of cool plugins. And as usual, have a nice day.